that are really starting to move. So here we go. Trading foreign exchange on margin carries high level of risk and may not be suitable for all our investors. The high degree of leverage can work against you as well as for you. Before deciding to invest in foreign exchange, you should carefully consider your investment objectives, your own level of experience, and your risk appetite. There is a possibility that exists that you could sustain a loss of some or even all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest money that you cannot afford to lose. You should be aware of all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. Again, this room is for educational purposes only. We're not going to be giving any sort of financial advice or recommendation in any trade that Matt, myself, or Al might take during this session. It is not any sort of recommendation or suggestion that you should do the same. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Again, don't trade with money you can't afford to lose. And before trading live, make sure you're operating within a trade plan that identifies how you're going to enter, how you're going to exit, your targets, and your risk management. So, Al, are you available and ready to roll?
I am very available and ready to roll.
All right, let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen because we had the Euro US breakout right now recently on the recent alert. I don't know if you've drawn that one up or not, but that's just popped out. So it is there. I'm stopping now and letting you roll.
Okay, here we go. Right now I'm on the, well, let's just say what we have here. Right now we have a British USD, which is still inside the wedge. We can come back to that in just a few minutes. This looks like it may be trying to break out to the upside, but we'll see. And we have the Euro US in play, which is already broken out of the wedge. This was at 7 o'clock this morning. We drew the wedge, it broke out of the bottom. It's looking right here at, I had a subsequent wedge, which I drew. This is more of just a trend line for the bigger time frame period. It just broke through the bottom of that, and I'm looking for it to head on down to this 107 to 108 to 104 range, or 1708 to 04 range. So this one's right now, we probably can't do much with that because it's already in the play, but we'll keep an eye on it. But let's go back to the British US since that one's still in check. Here's the wedge. I drew the secondary. Whenever we get these really strong moves to the upside, there is some breakout availability up here. I want to draw a secondary trend, not so much a wedge, but just a trend line to see where this thing could probably come down to bounce to. And one thing we have to be careful of is that we have our 62 moving average, which is outside the wedge and is right below where we're expecting it to possibly break out. So I've got that marked as well. And so to draw the wedge, we took it from the pretty much of a flat bottom. We had this real strong blue candle. We came down, we have some wicks. I took it from the wick of the, it was a descending wedge. So we're looking at it coming to the downside, a flat bottom, have the B at the end of the wicks of all this wicky area right in through here, flatten it out with the D. If it breaks through the bottom, we're going to be in that trade. Let me get to my 1 minute chart and we'll see where things are lying. And we have, right now we have the US is strong on all three time frames. And so we're looking at it to break to the bottom, to the downside with some strength. And right now it's inside the wedge. We're not going to take anything until it breaks out. We also have the 62 moving average in with our 5 minute inside the wedge. So if it breaks out of the wedge and closes out, that should give us a close below the 62 on the 5 minute. All of our moving averages on the 1 minute are in the right order with the 62, 13, and 5. 62, or excuse me, these are not in the order. This is these are out of order. So we could have a little bit of a problem with that. So if this does break to the downside, I'm not going to be expecting it to do. Oops, what happened here? It's loading up my demo platform here. Oh no, hang on. I'm just going to exit out of that right now. And so and this is what we have right now. So you can see it's starting to bounce off the 62. So this thing could consolidate, could tighten up a little bit along the way here. So we'll just have to be patient and see. All of our RSIs are, the threes are both out of the 60-40 range. The 8's coming out on the 5. It came out on the 1 minute. It's starting to come out again. And we have everything pointing down on the 15 minute. So right now everything's looking good to take this thing short if it gives us the opportunity to. And let's see, where is our trading platforms? And this is the British USD. Make sure you get your trading platform up in case this thing breaks, so you're all ready to go.
Using the right currency pair. Double check that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. I find out a lot of times when I have a day that's not working right is because I did something wrong. Like it was more of a trading platform error, not so much of a technical. Our strategy didn't work, but you have just trading errors where you click on the wrong pair, or you have the wrong chart up when you're looking at it, or just something stupid. So just try and make sure you can mitigate all those little different idiosyncrasies.
Yep, I would agree. I would agree completely. All it takes is one slip up and you lose a day's worth of profits. Pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
Oh, good
And you
morning,
can
by
see,
the way.
good morning, Matt. And you can see where it's bouncing right off the bottom of the wedge. We did get the break below the 62 on the 5-minute, but right now we don't have a close. So that's going to be that could be a little bit of a problem to all three of these moving averages get into the right order. So just to keep that in mind with the break. I like to see all three of them being in the proper order, and you also see where the 62 on the 15 is down below. So if it does break out, I'm not. Don't be too slow to take your profit, because this thing you'll probably get a bounce off of this.
Al,
Yes.
I know we're watching the pound. Can you go back and look at your Euro US? I'm not sure why mine's different, but it's retagging the 5-minute wedge on what I drew. And you're showing that it's already blown away by. I saw your screen. It looked like your
Yeah.
wedge was way past.
Here's what there
Did you
was.
have? Did
I
you
drew
see
this
the
a
alert
couple different. I drew.
at 6? Well, it'd be 7 your time, I guess.
Yeah. There's alerts. This is the alert at 7 o'clock,
That's on your
and
5-minute.
this is I'm on my 5-minute right now, and let me just go back here. Basically, I had a little secondary wedge, which I drew as I was watching this thing coming into this zone. And so actually this one's no longer in play, but when I first drew the wedge, let me get on my 15-minute while we're waiting when I first drew the wedge on this.
Okay, I see. Is that's
This is just a trend line that I drew. It was a trend line all the way back from yesterday's pivot low. And so rather than draw the whole wedge to this area, I just drew the wedge up to the upper part of this thing. But I wanted to make sure I noted where this trend line is, because if this thing breaks, which is where a lot of times where I would normally, I would forgo all this area in here, just waiting for it
okay.
to
I see
break.
what you did different. Your triangle, you started down instead of high.
Yeah, see a lot of times.
Even because it was a descending.
Yeah.
Why did you start low?
Good question. Good question. But I didn't mean to. Probably didn't mean to. Probably because I was looking at this part here, and I was just seeing where the trend was. Now let me redraw this. Yeah, because I probably should do that. I didn't even notice I did that.
And I went all the way down to where your square's at with the B.
And then here's my D, but flatten it out on the bottom. When we got the alert, by the time I got here about 20 minutes, 15 minutes after, so this big candle was already formed, breaking out of this area. But that's why I wanted to make sure I noted this. And so
Okay,
here,
I put my B where your target box is.
Oh, down here, all the way down here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I could see where you would do that. I could see that would be.
And then I flattened out the bottom.
Yeah. The problem that I see with that is that it doesn't give me much room to extend this. Well, it's all about the same. Extend it out a little bit further out, but yeah,
I just went B with. I went B with a D flat, so it didn't matter. Yeah. I went flat bottom. I didn't bring it back up. I kept it outside the wedge. That's what I did different. That's why it's now tagging.
Oh, so you kept your D down here like this?
Yeah, I went flat.
Okay, I see what you did.
That's why it didn't look right, because I was thinking, why are you already busted out?
Yeah, but this is the trend line I'm really concerned about. We have some nice spacing here. It broke through that.
Yeah.
And so this thing could give us another chance to go short.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's been consolidating for a while, hasn't it? Like even all night, and then it had its nice breakout. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple alerts on the Euro USD throughout the day.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a mover today. There are some announcements today, just so we are aware that we have At 10 o'clock, we have a pending home sales and crude oil inventory. This one usually has some punch to it, even though it's not red. The FOMC statement is red. That's at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and 2:30 another FOMC. So there's a couple of red folders after 10 o'clock today. So just be aware of that. And let's see if we can do what we're going to do. We're going to clone this as our. Let's see where we find our 2-pip. Let's see, this is at 17, 16, 8, so 14, 8. Right about, I'll call it there. It broke through the bottom of that trend line. Actually, this should give us our chance to, this might be our second, our retrace back into the wedge area. Let's see where all of our moving averages we have. They're not quite in order here. We did get the break on the Euro US on the 62. All of our moving averages are in the right order on the 5 and the. So we got a little flip back over here on the 1 minute. Let's wait for it to see if it comes back into the zone here. If we were using this blue line as the bottom of a higher time frame wedge, then right now, I still want to say it's going to have what was once resistance is now demand, or once was demand is now resistance. So I'm going to change the color of this one to a red background because it broke through it. So now this thing's supply, and we're looking. This is the target area down here that I'm looking at. However, I said let's see, do we have we don't have the 62.13 flip on the 5 minute yet. Dollar is showing strength. We have strong by 3, by 3, by 3. And if this thing goes, we should be able to take this thing short.
Yeah, we're at a really strong level, so if it rejects here, it'll be a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Even the whole moving averages, everything's all lined up for a sell, so that's another confirmation we can look at.
I see one more little red bar down here. US.
That's a pretty significant wick on the 5 minute, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I say we could go and take this thing short.
I didn't mean to distract. I was just.
No, that's fine.
Didn't look right.
Why are you causing problems?
Well, I thought I was losing my mind. I was thinking, how am I getting an alert? And
we have
he's
the close.
not.
We have the close came up in, so we can take this thing short.
It's all good.
Let me see if I can get my platform up here. See if I can catch this on the next.
On the next pullback.
It's taking its sweet time. There we go. Let's see, I still want to see a red candle.
Not to be a distraction, but your pound US just broke too. But I
Oh,
think this
yeah.
was better. I think this
When
was
it
better
rains, it
because of the
pours.
spread. The spread of RCS is a lot different. I mean, pound is 7, so that's funny.
All the indicators are pointing up out of, we got a lot of things going on this morning, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes, lots of stuff going on.
And let's see if I can get this thing up and running here.
No basics this morning. Just jump right in and
Yeah.
swim.
So I get my 2-pip trend line going on up here. $71, $73. Let's call it that. Breaking back into the wedge. We have all of our moving averages are in the right direction. I kind of like this one better than the Euro US at this point.
Mm-hmm. Euro US makes me feel like it's just gonna consolidate for a while because of the pretty monstrous move it's had over the last couple of days.
Yeah, plus I had a big drop last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're looking at the Euro US sell, Andrew.
This is a buy.
You're buying the pound?
Yep.
Yeah, I've been in it for a little bit.
7. There's 7. There's our targets. There's our stop. And we'll see what happens. We don't have our 3-pip spread on 3-point spread on the 15-minute, but it is showing that the British is stronger. I'll keep an eye on the Euro US. And then we wait. Change this into our trend line here. And we're going to move this up 2 pips from 73 to 75. Right about there. And here's our entry to buy. Use them to buy. There we go. And we're looking for a target of 29.81 is what we're looking for. Our 7-pip stop is right below this big, strong extended range candle. If it comes back and takes that out, then there's probably something wrong. This thing, if it's going to go, it should, nice big candle coming up, and this should hold. If it's not, it's probably going to be a little head fake. But it came up, base, made a new high, coming back now, it's retesting the wedge right in here. I'll put my buy zone right about in my stop zone. somewhere right around in this area here.
Everyone's so quiet today now.
All those brain cells are at work. And this is showing that the Euro US is weak to the British pound. Pound is strong to the US. US is number one on this. A little bit of a battle between the British on the US on the higher time frame, 15-minute. Let's see if we can get our 7 pips on this. See, we have find a fib line. Fib line's right up here at the red line. We did get the pass and check. It did pass the green and up to the red. Couple more pips and we're there. $15 still out over here, still heading up to the 89. This one's still out, heading up to the 89. This one's not quite to the 89 yet. This one made us a little hook, and now it's retesting this 40-60 range.
Yeah, so we could, on the 1 minute, it could come back up into that zone, and then the 5 minute could start coming out of the top, but we'll see.
We have 2 more minutes for the 5-minute candle to close. We did get a higher high, and we have a higher low so far. Let's see if this comes back and respects the wedge. Let's see if we can get a nice strong push up here now.
Mm-hmm. I noticed something with the hulls here. If you can check the on the 1 minute, you see where one before was red. Now it turned green. On the 5 minute, they're all green, but on the 15 minute, the 15-minute hull is red.
Still red, yep.
So because of the way that it's being calculated, the 5 minute is actually like a leader of what's happening on the 15 minute. And the 1 minute is the leader of what's happening on the 5 minute. So it doesn't mean that it's going to flip. It means that it's probably going to flip because there's still a little bit of math involved in there.
You mean flip to the upside for the 1 minute to flip? Okay.
Yeah.
We're still kind of needing that 15 minutes to turn green to give us more confidence that that's going to keep on going.
Yeah.
Or at least for a pullback. But you can see there's a lot of wicks right here in this 15-minute chart. There's a lot of wicks right in there, which is just basing. So basically it's trying to break out of the upside. And if it does, it could have a nice little run to the top from here to, see, here's the top candle. Here's our pullback, our 30%, 38% pullback, and here would be the target up in this area. Let's draw that one out just to see where we're at, see if it materializes. Split the difference right about there. And let me get rid of this. Here's a nice little target zone if we can get it. Just got to get through this first. And we have a nice green line right up here. We have a, let's see, on our 5-minute. Let's see where we're at over here. This is the, we still need to get up there to that 83 level. Not seeing the dollar weakening much over here. Still have a nice 4-point spread on the 1 minute, which is good. It was the U.S. was on top. Now it's flipped back over to now the British is that's a good sign. As long as the British pound can stay on top of the U.S. over here on the 1 minute, which is just flipped back over again. So it's having a little bit of a basing issue going on in there.
Indicators making lower highs. MRSI.
Over here.
Yeah. It's not insignificant.
But we still haven't got the 8 coming up here to the 89 yet on the 5-minute.
Exactly.
So I'm looking at this just right now. I'm still looking at that as just being a pullback.
I am as well. There's no divergence between the MRSI and price right now.
Yeah.
Which means that it could be a continuation. If there was divergence, then I would look at a potential reversal, but I'm not. I don't see that right now.
Certainly there's a little bit of a battle going on right in there.
Yeah, we still didn't break into the wedge though, so that's a lot of rejection at the top. On the 5-minute, that's some big wicks.
Yeah.
That means a very big wick on the 15-minute. It didn't like that.
No, we just have to be patient. We have a green bar now on our 15 on the hull. We have our 2 green on the 5 minute, and we're just waiting for one more green bar on the 1 minute.
Well, let's see.
I'm still looking at this area right here is still holding.
Yeah, watch the 1 minute 62 come up right at the bottom of the wedge, and the price come down and tag it, and then potentially take off. But it'll interact with that in some way. It's too close not to. And did we just get head faked? If we took it on the
Slide this on up to note where that one is. It's still outside of the wedge.
there we go. So we got
Still
that.
green, still green, still waiting for a third green on this 1 minute. All the RSIs are starting to point up. All of our moving averages are still in the proper order. Well, the 1 minute kind of flipped here a little bit on the 1 and on the 5 and the 13. Kind of flipped a little bit, but the 62 held so far. So we need to get the pass and check on this green line at the 74 level. The blue line held. So this is basically in a demand zone right now on the 2 minute time frame or the 1 minute chart. And we wait. Just a reminder, if anybody has any questions or comments, if you've used the question and answer box, it'd be great. We'd be more apt to see them.
Even though this morning the chat is very quiet, it's just best practice to put it there so that we can monitor it and address the questions as they come.
We did notice yesterday, Al and I were talking. If you notice the RCS, I'm looking on my screen. He's just showing the two pairs that he's looking at. I'm watching all the pairs on my 150-minute chart, and pound is the strongest. Currently, US is number 2 in line. Then it goes down from there. But they haven't moved a whole lot. And looking at things yesterday, I'm guessing a lot of this has to do with the fact that we're into the month. We have a lot of news items coming out, and so strength, even though it's there and it's a great tool, nobody's doing anything. They're keeping pretty much range bound, I'm guessing, for the rest of the week. But 7 pips is not, when your goal is 7 pips, it's not far to reach. So even though it may be range bound, we can still trade. We just got to be a little careful.
Yeah, you don't want to try to hit a home run, not with all the news coming out. You just take your little piece of the pie. We'll try and catch the buffet next week.
You figure for the last several minutes, it's just been ranging inside the 7 pip range.
7 pips again, right?
Well, 7 pips on either, you'd have, basically that's 67 to 79, so it's about 13 pips peaked over the last 15 minutes probably.
Excuse me.
For those who are also monitoring the Euro US, it's still just sitting there. US is 6. Euro is bouncing between 2, 3, and 4 as far as strength. But it looks like pound US are going to stay strong today, whatever that means. But there's not a whole lot of changes happening.
That's probably why they're fighting so hard right here.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of change happening.
Trying to figure who's going to be in first or last place. And it's coming back into the wedge.
Let's see how big that one is.
I closed my pound US.
Yeah, I got stopped out here. I'm not liking the way this thing's going right now. I mean, it may still pop back out again, but we're not. That's another good argument why I like seeing a 3-point spread on this for the upside. Everything's still pretty much green, but I don't like this little wick right up here. We have this little peak, and they have 2 lower ones on either side, and then we have to break below. Right now, we don't have the close below this area right here, but it's certainly trying to. There's just a battle going on. If it was going to be a really good trade, it would have broken, kept on going, and got our 7 pips. Right now, it only came up about 3 pips out of our zone, and right now it's still battling it out.
Yeah, that's a good sign to get the heck out of there because it's just getting stuck in traffic.
Yeah,
And you don't want to be in traffic.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what's happening right now.
The whole concept of wedges is once it breaks the wedge, it's just impulsive out of there. If it's not impulsive out of there, you're going to really want to consider getting out of it because you don't want to sit into something that's going to break your neck.
Well, now that's back in the wedge. Let's take a look at the Euro US and see what's happening in that arena.
Similar story.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much similar story.
It's very similar.
Now the dollar is a little. We do have a 3-point spread on the dollar and the euro, so which would favor it to the downside. And this is a nice little pullback. So you had a little wedge right here. You have a little flag pattern right here. So that's kind of a good sign for it to the downside.
Yeah, I'm short this one.
I like this little channel up that's forming on.
Now we're one. U.S. went strong again.
All right. Well, it'll be interesting when market opens because we've had a lot of strength, right? Something
unusual recently.
Very, very. At least for the last, week?
It's forming a little bit of a channel coming in here. No, we just don't know which ways. But right now it's right in this. No, which was once demand is now supply. It broke through the bottom. This could be a little bit of a head fake to the downside there too. A lot of times you see these little flag patterns like that. It's like move, it comes back up, and then it breaks to the downside some more. Still looking at this area. This is where C was, put it down to here, bring it back up to right about to where the high was, which was, we'll call it, no, that's a little bit more there. Let's take it to this one. And then here's our zone right here of and then split the difference. Take this tool off and look at that for a target if to the downside.
That's a good target.
But we have to see if where it's gonna go from the upside here.
Yeah. Now, at least from what I've seen, and you guys can correct me if you feel differently, but I found that any news announcements generally just accelerate what's already going on.
Yeah, a lot of times it accelerates before the news announcements because the people in the know already know what the news is going to be.
Yeah.
Even though they're
and,
not supposed
and the people that know have big capital, so they can push it wherever they want.
Yeah. Before and after.
Mm-hmm. That's why you get these big, moves up, moves down, very impulsive. And for people that have tight stop losses like we do and we need precision, it's not great to trade during those major news announcements because we're using really, really tight entries, and because of our the amount of pips we have in our trade, if we get the wrong side of that and there's a big move up and big move down all of a sudden in a 20 or 30 pip 1 minute candle, which has happened, you can get into a position you don't want to be in. So Euro USD is going up right now.
Yeah, it's coming right up to probably retest the top bottom of this upper
Original
wedge here.
right? I would believe that.
So news days can be kind of tricky sometimes.
Yeah, I'm going to be exercising a whole lot of caution around these. FOMC is a big deal. So, not as big as non-farm payroll, but anytime you have these kind of announcements, especially in the current environment that we're experiencing right now. Myself, I've turned away from GBP USD completely. It doesn't mean someone might not find a really nice setup, but
Looks like the British may be starting to break out at the top here.
there you go, Ruben.
All three moving averages seem to be in the right order now. Still looking for this area up here. Let's see if we get a 5-minute close above this blue candle here. Everything's green right now on the hulls. And was able to break out the top of this. This was the pullback. They're always head faking. You're always trying to get to take out the stops and then let it run.
Great job, Ruben. Proud of you, man.
All right, we now have our we had a 3-point spread on the British. Looks like the dollar is showing the weakest. Everything on the British US is still favoring the upside. Still looking for the 62, the RSIs on the 15-minute to get up to the 89 level.
So you remember what we were talking about, right, Ruben? About the errors that a person can. Danielle Torre. We're Daniel's looking for maybe another entry. If he was too late, either he was maybe occupied a little bit. If it comes down and bounces off the top of the wedge, then potentially that would be a pretty good entry. But right now, I think we're at a point that you don't want to be entering kind of on that one. But that's just opinion, right?
This was a nice little candle up here, and it's starting to basically form a little wedge right up in here. You could try and take a breakout if it breaks above here, but it's a little bit of still kind of a risk. I would use, if it breaks the top here, if you take that, then I would use this as a stop. This
Yeah,
would
it would
one
be
way of
very
getting in,
tight.
because there is a nice little move up. If it breaks the top, that would be a breakout. Then this stop zone should hold. I said up here is where I'm looking at for the target. I'll probably be putting it right about in this area in here.
Euro USD is just going up. It's probably going to touch your original wedge if it hasn't already.
Just remember, you only have from the 81 to the bottom of this little green box is only 7. That's your 7 pips. So this is the higher time frame area. You see right here, it's pretty much right at the bottom of that green line. But all of our RSIs are out of the 60-40 zone, so they're all showing strength to the upside.
Yeah, they're making higher lows, so it's a pretty good sign for continuation. Just a little bit higher. Did you take this one long, or
Who, me?
did you take it short? Did you take Euro USD long, or?
No, I did not take it long.
Oh, okay.
I was short, but I got out a long time ago.
Yeah, I've got a long position in that I'm gonna get out of in a couple more candles. I took the short and closed it out early. I should have taken my profits. Let's see. Whole moving average is decisively green, so
Yeah, the British pound still has some room to the upside. Nice spread on the British US spread.
what do you say often? It's like watching paint dry.
Yeah, it's like watching paint dry.
I've sometimes caught myself nodding off in a trade.
The group is quiet, but man, they stuck around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's.
I have nothing funny to say today, so I mean,
Look at you.
yeah,
We
there's
we don't
nothing.
have
I have
we
nothing.
didn't have a really big group this morning compared
It's
to
Wednesday, and if Josh
yeah.
was smart, he wouldn't be trading today to begin with,
Mm.
because he said he met his weekly goal already
Yeah, exactly. In one session.
in one session. So, if that's the case, that makes sense. Plus, it's typical Wednesdays, and it's that middle of the week thing, and
Wacky Wednesdays.
yeah,
Well, it's a news day, so that's you
news
get a lot
day.
of very tight moves and just enough to keep you on your toes.
So, anyone actually read the news? Does it look positive, or does it look like it's a gong show like it has been? I'm sure someone.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a gong show here in the U.S. To be honest,
Yeah.
just for the fact that I mean, just like our school.
Hmm.
I mean, we were talking. Supposed to be back in next week, Monday. Um, Planning on how to learn how to teach virtually. Next thing you know, they have a board meeting last night where some parents are upset. The kids that are being sent back to school are not going to get recess, and they're going to have to wear masks and keep them at home. You have a choice, and so and then kids are supposed to be back coming to face September 28th, which means they're going to do a whole 6 weeks in virtual learning. and find out last night that no, they're coming back September 8th.
Wow.
In full force.
Well, my thoughts are then let's not do virtual. Let's just postpone school till September 8th for everybody. You're only talking 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah. They're like, you can
Start
catch up.
fresh. Yeah. So, I mean, if our economy and economic news is anything like our school news, it could be interesting.
Yeah.
But everything is just really moving really, really slow. This is what Alan and I were talking about yesterday. Because you have a 7-to-1 strength ratio.
And it should be moving.
It should
With
be
that
moving,
kind of,
but it's not.
Just low volatility right now, or low volume, I'd say.
yeah, something's low.
Especially this time of day, you usually get some really fast moving.
Yeah, but prior to the news, no one wants to get caught in the wrong end of that mess.
Yeah.
There's so much uncertainty right now.
Just grinding away and grinding away. Here's a nice little blue candle, red candle, followed by a blue candle. This is encouraging for the upside here. See if we can get a nice big candle, blue candle close on this above here.
We have about 30 minutes left in our break, our earth breaking environment today.
Short morning this morning.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The energy in the market today. I'm looking at something else here on that different chart. Pound US overall long. Majority of people are short.
Yeah, whatever people do the opposite. It's a good principle in life as well as the Forex.
The crowd's normally wrong.
Yep.
On all things. Unless they're the three of us, then it's rarely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not the crowd. We're just three. Ooh.
If anyone is in Euro USD for a long still, there might be a point of, it might challenge 1.1752, and that will be potentially a reversal point. So yeah, well, if you're short on Euro USD right now, you would need a pretty significant stop loss.
Good thing it's on test.
Yeah, testing right now. So 117.52 exactly as was mentioned. So let's see what if it comes off there.
Daily supply has been broken by the pound US.
Okay.
So if you're looking bigger picture, there's nothing stopping it before 1.3.
1.3.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nothing
20-some pips.
There's nothing really significant. Looking at the Euro US, let's see what that tells me. Ruben Euro. I mean, strangely enough, we talked about this the other day, that we were at a price point where it could be rejected and fall away, then come back in. We're at that same spot again. So we have what we call a rally into an area. It's basing right now, so it could fall apart, and it has room to do so.
Yeah.
So
we'll see if it.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying it's a really critical point right here. This is.
Yeah, you're at a 1783 fib number, blue on a daily chart, which are usually pretty tough to get through unless you have some government agencies pushing it that way. So 1783 to the 1800 area is a good line of shortness, but let me range this out. We're really, if you last 3 days, we are in an 84 pip range, really. Very small range for a daily chart.
That's outside of normal.
We're right in the middle of an 84 range. Yeah. So it could go another 40 pips up or 40 pips down. And now we'll know what I'm talking about when we basically got our parabolic move moving into a basing area, and that will either be the new pivot high and a fall back, or it'll be a rally base rally, which looking at the Euro US, it's overextended for sure.
Yeah, so you don't want to be in very many buys right now.
Right. And there's really no clear area of sell either, but I'm on a sell. I'm short this on my swing trading, so.
Yeah, I've got a couple positions in the sell on a longer term, so.
Yeah, we're going to try to figure out how to make Ruben. We're going to try to make this. We have the ability. We're learning because of the structure of the room being webinar. There's some other things I'm learning in the back office how to do with Zoom that can allow attendees to raise their hand, and we can open mics up and share screens. So we're working on that.
Now we're talking.
It just can't have them all open at the same time.
We'd have to manually click you on.
Correct. We're working on how to get that.
What's Mr. J. Clemens saying?
Ratio of traders. Yeah, he's done an analysis of the overall sentiment.
Let's see, this thing just isn't doing much, is it?
It's fantastic.
We got the Euro US. Here was the wedge. Looks like it's breaking out of that wedge.
Yep.
Yeah. It came back. We're almost done our session.
Looks like it could end up retesting this 1783 area.
Well, that's pretty high.
Yeah, that's the fib zone.
Actually, I have I have a flat top trend line from a wedge that I drew that is bouncing off the bottom of it and then just rejected it. So I'm just trying to see what. Yeah, that's going up.
I'm so sure it was going to the downside. Didn't even bother marking the upside on this one.
No, me too.
Well, this whole area is no longer valid. This is no longer valid right now. You can keep that there for reference. Right now, it's even with the C level. If it can break the C, if it can break level in the C, it should be able to head on up to the A section here.
Right. If you look at just for Ruben's sake, this could be, if this thing will drop from here, it would be a lower high on a big picture. And it could be continuing down to a possible lower low or just be basing and creating a new high. And
it's still a really big rally up.
Yeah.
Like we're talking what, 5, 10, 20, 25 pips in 25 minutes or whatever.
This thing could be that pullback for it to even go higher.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was going to pull back deeper.
Right now we have dollar weakness, euro strength. Here's a breakout of the, pretty much just here's the breakout of the wedge down here. This is 53. What's the range here from the breakout to, that's 20 pips. Yeah, that was a nice little move right there. This was a head fake down to below. Although it actually, it sort of head faked us down here, but it came down just to retest that trend line, and now it's just heading on up.
This one seems like the only pair moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, it's also the most traded pair as well. So,
well, not only that, but it's also got that news announcement. So they're just getting set up for the news announcement today.
yeah.
Here's our C. Let's take a look at the 1 minute chart here. A little bit of a basing right in this area. Let's see what kind of levels we have here. So this could be the end of the road here at 1762. It's rejected the 1770. What's this? 1770 area. That's right where the second target is. And so we have this target right here to be looking at. 62 to 69. There's a 7 pip range there.
All right. Session is pretty much Still think it's coming down though, Brian, eh?
Yeah, I think it's going to range bound. I think it's going to come back and maybe not quite go all the way back down the bottom, but I think where he's got his green line set up. I just think
1727.
This is pretty much
that
where it broke the
1730
bottom
area.
of.
Yeah.
I can see it coming back down to the 1730 area, which is perfectly fine. Ruben has a list of questions. He says, "Here's one," and this is what Al and I were talking about yesterday as well. But I'm gonna let Al answer it. If the double RSI, the MRSI tool, if the blue is crossing the orange, or vice versa, what does this learn? What does this teach us or learn us to? Does this mean anything? I'm gonna let you answer that. Because I brought this up to you yesterday.
When the blue, basically I look at that blue to go from the 11 to the 89 range. And in the process of it doing that, it's going to be crossing the orange most of the time, several times. So what I look at is I'm looking for it to cross after it reaches an extreme, like if it reaches the extreme of the 11, and the orange is still in the 60-40 zone, and it goes and crosses it to the upside. That usually, what that will usually do is pull both of these pointed in the same direction. Once they both cross the 60, I'm looking for the 3 to hit the 89. Once it hits the 89 hook, I'm looking for it to cross back down. But if it crosses back down and then hooks again, that just means that the 8 isn't quite ready to go. But now you see, like right up here, the 8 and the 80, or the 3 and the 80, and excuse me, the 3 RSI and the 8 RSI both reach the 89 level, and then you have the hook. You'll see it hook, it comes back down, retest it, and then once you get, and this is one thing Matt mentioned earlier, if you get a high, a lower high, a lower high, that means it's probably coming down to the downside.
And I look at it just a tad different. Knowing that there's news items and looking at this chart, knowing the volume is low, in spite of that, we have majority of the time the blue, the blue line is above the orange in the last 25 minutes or so. The majority of the time it's been pushing high. It's staying on the high side of the numbers, and it's above the orange line. So I like to look at that. I pay attention to the crossing. I do. But Al's more precise on what the numbers are. I'm aware of his color grid because it looks exactly the same. But as long as the blue lines are staying below the orange, the pressure's down. And as long as the blue line's above the orange, the pressure's up. And then you tie that into your RCS and your hull, and you have a nice little picture of what the overall look is. Yeah. He said, can we spot some divergence on RSI now?
I would say that would be a yes. On the 1 minute, let's take a look at a higher. I don't like using divergence on the 1 minute because that's generally not real conclusive because it's such a fast moving. A second, let me just check something out here. Yeah, because it's so fast moving. But I'd be more apt to do it off the 15 or the 5 or the 15. And if you're looking at on the 5 minute chart, I don't see divergence yet. You did see on the bottom, you did see a little divergence from this. We look at this low here, and you see the low here, and you had a nice strong move down. This was pretty much an even bottom. It wasn't quite divergence. What I would like to see this blue one be up a little bit higher, so we would have had a little bit higher of a trend on this one. I would like to have seen this little hook hang on to that around that trend line, be just a little bit up, and then you have had the divergence with this candle here and this one. When you have this one pointing down with a lower low, and the hooks are a little bit higher, like this little hump here would rather be more up on top. then that would have been more of a divergence. That was close. That was very close to it. I mean, that was almost like an even bottom here. That's pretty much right flat even, but you had a lower low. So that, I mean, that was in sense a divergence. Basically, divergence would mean is that this, if you do extended this line and then extended this line, they would be touching each other at some point. That would be where you get the divergence. Does that answer your question there, Ruben? How's our British doing? Still chugging away. Here's the first target. This is the first target I told you when we broke out the top. There was the first target right there. Testing the green line. You can see as this thing broke out of this wedge area here, you can see that none of these all these RSIs stayed above the 60 zone as it went cranking on up. I'm going to try and change this a little color. See that a little bit better. You see, like even like this 8 moving average on the 8 minute, it never got out of, never broke below the 40, even on the pullbacks. It pulled back, it never broke below the 40, and and right now it's still hanging on up there. I'd say if you haven't taken your target, I would say, I mean, you could still be looking for this area up here. I mean, right now it's not seeing any real strong signs of weakness. All of our holes are still green. But the fact we have the news today, I would be real careful about going for the big run today on this one.
Yeah, I think that's the top for a little bit. We'll see. It might go up maybe a couple more pips, but I don't. We'll see the higher time frames.
You can see where this move was. Like I said, when we started down here with this little, well, I showed it over here on the 1 minute. We had a nice little push up, and it had a little pullback. You could just see where it just started trending. This was just the trending, but I think this may have been like the last push before it's going to come back and retest. This little move right here is where it first broke. And so the way we did this was we started here, came up, pulled us back to see where this area was, measured to see how much of a pullback was. It was just right about 40% pullback. And then the target after that pullback is right up here at the basically that's a 1-to-1 move. That's basically at the 1, that's basically the same length as this move right here. From here to the 1 is the same distance. I'll show you what I'm talking about here.
You got a 2-minute warning, Al.
Okay, thank you. We're almost done here. So we have a stick. So we go from here to here. And then we move this over from the low to the high, and that's right where this one is. So that's a 1-to-1 to this move right here. And on that note, that's about all I can say for today. I'd say if you made some profit today, it was a good trade for you. If not, if you got stopped out, if you took those stops and didn't get back in, well,
good trade.
I can say sorry about that. I got stopped out myself here on this one.
All is good. All right. Well, we'll see you guys. Well, we have a session tonight. So if you want to do an evening session or you have friends that want to see the evening session there with Auvoria Prime, make sure you register for that tonight. The announcement will be in Telegram.
And we'll see you guys soon.
All right. Okay. Y'all take care.
Thanks for coming. All right.
See you guys.
Bye.